You gonna help me or not?
No. No. No!
What's happening, Nacha? What's happening, little girl? Lots of these cool little animations, little Lego animations coming out from Iran. Like almost one every day. And it's interesting. Here you've got this incredible situation unfolding. You've got Trump saying that there's peace talks happening and that Iran is giving him gifts and all sorts of things.
They are negotiating, by the way, and they want to make a deal so badly, but they're afraid to say it because they figure they'll be killed by their own people. They're also afraid they'll be killed by us.
They want to make a deal. The reason they want to make a deal is they have been just beat to shit.
So the
And yet, almost every day, you've got these little animation videos coming out that are being made by the Iranian government that are basically showing you in children's terms exactly what their attitude is towards Trump and the United States. The amount of disdain they have for the man and how they are simply not interested whatsoever in any type of ceasefire. You know, for all the stuff that Trump is saying, which is just nuts. Saying they're doing this and they're doing that, and he's giving them 5 days, and he's giving them 10 days. He just keeps changing his mind because things just don't work out. And then they even do animations about that.
Help! We need backup!
You can do it, baby!
Okay, that's enough!
You've got 10 seconds. Believe me, you don't want this. 5 seconds. Very serious situation. 3. I'm ready. 1 last chance.
You know what? Forget it. Let's do this the smart way. We talk. Okay. Let's make a deal. That's a good point. I'll take it. Best negotiation I had today.
Yeah, they're just making fun of him the whole way. And through all of it all, like almost every one of them, they bring in the Epstein files. They're letting you know why they're doing this. They're saying this is one vengeance for all. This is vengeance for everything that the United States has done through Vietnam, through Epstein Island, to the American Indians. I mean, there was that one animation they put out that showed the missile going over the heads of all the people that the United States had attacked and destroyed, which was a very powerful video. And all these videos show the stance that Iran is taking. And all the stuff Trump is saying he's going to do to de-escalate, well, he's not. He's saying, like again, he's saying Iran is begging for a ceasefire, and Iran is making it very clear that they're not interested in a ceasefire. You should never have attacked us in the first place, and we've given you our demands. We want all your bases gone. We want regime change in Israel. We want this given back to the Palestinians. We want this state gone, basically. We want a democratic state there where everybody has equal rights, the way it was before the Zionists came. And we want $500 billion in compensation for all the damage that you've done to Iran through all of these illegal sanctions over the last 47 years. These are our demands. These are all predetermined demands that would have all been in sealed envelopes that all kicked into place as soon as the war started, because, as I've said on previous reports, the first thing the United States did was to take out the leadership. You know, they assumed that this would destroy the country. You take out the head, you take out the generals, and they've got nothing to fight back with. They didn't count on Iran's asymmetric defense setup, whereby you've got 31 different centers that are all acting on predetermined orders, and these are their demands. So if you don't capitulate to these demands, then we're just going to keep escalating it. We're going to keep responding. And the more you do to us, the more we're going to do to you. I mean, it wasn't Iran that started blowing up power plants. This was Israel and the United States. But the more of Iran's power infrastructure they take out, then the more of their power infrastructure Iran is taking out. This is why Iran is attacking the Gulf states. It's not because it wants to attack Arab states. It's because all of these states are allowing the United States and Israel to attack Iran from their territories. And since this is a war of energy, well, we'll take out all your energy centers as well. And this is affecting the entire world's energy center. I mean, we are heading for an energy crisis of historical proportions, probably the worst in world history. Let's not get conspiratorial about it. Let's not talk about ancient civilizations. Let's not talk about Tartaria. Let's not talk about free energy. Let's not talk about what might possibly have been taken from us in the last reset. But let's just look at where we are now. And this is the most significant and potentially the most damaging event in our lifetime, in our recorded history, of what we know history is. Never before has the Earth been so dependent and codependent upon this international energy system. And that system is now being severely damaged, and it has been already. If this war was to stop today, there's already been an enormous amount of damage done. But it's not stopping today, and it's not stopping until Iran decides they want to stop. That's the issue. The United States can claim it's working towards a ceasefire and stuff. Iran isn't interested. Iran wants its demands met, or it's just going to continue. And the more Iran is attacked, then the more it's going to respond. The Iranians have already said that if the United States puts boots on the ground in Iran, then they intend to take over and put boots on the ground in all of the Gulf states on the other side of the Persian Gulf, which includes Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Dubai. They're going to take over all of these centres, all on the western side of the Persian Gulf. It's going to take control of both sides. This is what it's threatened to do, and it has the ability to do that. So this is getting more and more escalated, depending on how much the United States wishes to escalate it, the United States and Israel. And Trump has really got himself backed into a corner. I mean, this is not going the way they expected. But then maybe it is. I mean, for all the missile strikes that have happened in Israel, you've got to wonder. I mean, the last time there was that sort of, was a 12-day war in 2025, like last year. It was interesting that most of the sites that were bombed by Iranian missiles were sites within Tel Aviv that had actually been scheduled for demolition and reconstruction. So you got to wonder what was going on there and how much of that was contrived and planned. And could it be the same with this war? Well, the interesting thing about this one is that it's just a continuous barrage of missiles, and many of them are cluster munitions that appear to be doing a lot of damage to Tel Aviv, to a lot of areas. And even if the last war was a little contrived, well, it would have been contrived between the leaders. And at the start of this war, they backstabbed everyone by taking out the leaders, possibly not understanding that by doing so they were kicking in this asymmetric defense system. So, yeah, mosaic defense system, asymmetric and mosaic. Those two together, pretty crazy. And so if they put boots on the ground and then all of the Gulf states get invaded by Iranian troops, and they've got between 800,000 and 1 million troops, they say. There's also a video I saw where they said they were going to be actually allowing kids as young as 12 to sign up to do stuff for the military. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I did see a video to that effect. That could be true, and it could be just propaganda put out there to make you think that they don't have any military, that they got to conscript kids. It's not really conscription, I don't know. That's the hardest thing with all this sort of stuff, is the fog of war. I mean, nobody knows really what's going on over there at all. But there's a lot of indication that Tel Aviv is getting pretty hammered, and the Iranians just intend to keep going. They're up to their like 84 waves of missiles now, I think. Probably past that now by the time I post this video. Like pretty much every day they're sending waves of missiles over, and they're just not stopping. But all this really does have the potential, and it actually already has changed the world in many ways. Like stopping the flow of energy, the way they have, stopping the flow of fertilizers and chemicals right at growing season. This isn't a mistake. You know, you're going to find that a lot of crops don't get planted this year because there's no fertilizer for the crops, and there's no fuel for the machinery you need to plant the crops, the tractors, the harvesters. All this stuff is mechanized now. It's not people that do it, it's all machines. And all these machines require fuel. They require refrigeration. There's so much involved, international shipping, diesel, oil, gas. A lot of people who cook with gas, you're going to find that there's enormous gas shortages this year. The prices of gasoline and petrol in Australia, and everywhere, the price is going up rapidly, and it's going to continue to grow up as the shortages grow. The interesting thing is that all of our countries actually have plenty of spare oil. America has plenty of oil. Australia has plenty of oil. We've got oil wells capped up near Monero. We've got oil that we get from Bass Strait. I think we get pretty much all we need from Bass Strait. But the government doesn't tell you that. That's all in reserve. It's there for an emergency. Okay, well, what the fuck is this? The thing is, this is a manufactured emergency. But another thing Iran has said, that if things get too tense and the West doesn't back down, then they have threatened to also cut the international cable, which carries about 90 to 95%, perhaps higher, of the world's data. And if they do this, this will effectively shut down the internet, because those cables actually run through the Straits of Hormuz, and all of the main data centers that power those cables through that area are all, guess where? In Bahrain and Dubai and Qatar, and all of the places that Iran is now threatening to take over when they put that ultimatum out to the US government and said, if you put boots on the ground, we will take over the entire Gulf. And you're going to be putting boots on the ground. Think about it. The United States is going to be putting boots on the ground in highly mountainous terrain that they have no concept of what they're facing there. They believe they can just go and take over this island, everything's going to be good. Well, while you're doing that, then a lot of Iranian troops will go over and take over all of those coastal areas of Qatar and Bahrain, and they will take over all of the data flow and all of the oil flow, and possibly even cut the cable to the world's internet. You really think they thought this through, folks, before they launched this invasion?
As if things couldn't get worse, Iran just threatened to cut the cables that just so happen to carry 95% of the world's fucking internet. I'll give you a quick rundown. Under the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf, hundreds of fiber optic cables on the ocean floor carry more than 95% of all global internet traffic. This means your emails, video calls, and cloud services to financial transactions and streaming are dependent on these cables. Cables connect the major data centers built in the Gulf by companies including Amazon, Microsoft, and Google to billions of users worldwide. These cables are relatively easy to damage, whether by naval mines, anchors, or direct military action. According to Capacity Global, at least only 17 submarine cables run through the Red Sea alone. Like it says, the Strait of Hormuz is equally vital. Key cable systems including AAE-1, Falcon, Gulf Bridge International Cable System, and Tata TGN Gulf all pass through the region according to telegeography. I'm sure everybody's aware of who our surprising ally has become, and as you can read, India, among other countries, has particular reason to pay attention. The cable runs through landing stations in Oman, the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Iraq, Pakistan, India, and Saudi Arabia. India is also one of the largest consumers of internet traffic, with significant data flows connecting Indian users to servers in West Asia, Europe, and beyond. How ironic that this nation that our leaders clearly underestimated from the very beginning has all of a sudden gained so much control.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff, And think about what all this could do, though, as well. When you look at the bigger picture, even if Iran isn't playing, even if Iran is just doing what they're doing and they fully believe they're just simply defending their country, well, look at the bigger picture. Look what they can do through all this. Once all this is over, you're going to head for massive depopulation, of course. That's going to be great for them. They want their 500 million. And they even had it there depicted on the Georgia Guidestones. We all saw that. They also want to have this whole electric system in place. They don't want people to be using gasoline cars and petrol-driven cars. Well, that's going to be very hard to phase out with people, but what if they completely destroy that industry through this war? So people have no choice. If you want to travel at all, then it's got to be electric vehicles. Also, Internet 2.0, they've always talked about doing this and bringing in a completely new form of internet where everything will be on the cloud and satellite driven. What if this is a good way to bring that into play as well? And also, you know, if the world was to go dark, if the internet was to simply shut down, well, we're going to lose all the information that we have stored online. That includes all your banking information, all your crypto information, all the movies and films and podcasts and things that we've done, all this sort of stuff. Most of your photographs and anything digital that's stored online that you don't have a physical hard copy of is going to be lost. All they have to do is shut down the internet for that to happen. How would they shut down the internet? Well, they stage a war with Iran and have Iran cut the cable, and then it's all over. And then you've got to bring in Internet 2.0. But of course, you will need to have physical proof of whatever it was that you thought you owned online when you didn't own it anyway, because it was just all virtual. So, you know, at the end of all this, I mean, if that happens, then the whole world goes dark. And nobody really knows what's going on anywhere on Earth until we come out of the tunnel on the other side. What's that going to look like? You know, and there's a real potential for this to actually happen. You know, I have friends all over the world. My friends in Croatia, who I love so dearly. Friends in Holland. I've got dear friends in Peru. So many beautiful friends in Australia. And even people, you know, that I haven't met all over the world that I communicate with online. Many of them that I have met at places like in Acapulco. You know, I'm someone who travels, you know. I mean, even when I was in Australia, I'd be traveling like 8 months of the year. I have friends all over the earth. And, you know, if they were to shut down the internet, I mean, through this whole energy crisis, it's going to be very, very difficult to travel anyway. But if they shut down the internet by cutting the cables, it's going to be very difficult to even stay in contact with people. And this is a perfect way for them to do it. And just imagine what they could do under the cover of darkness. I mean, look what's going on in Palestine. And as I've said so many times, folks, the way of Palestine will be the way of the world if we don't pay attention. I showed you on the last report that there's 10 or 11,000 prisoners, about 10,800 prisoners held in Israeli jails, and they're just passing legislation whereby they can execute them all. They're kept in the most horrendous conditions. I showed you the sort of conditions that they're kept in. They're made to lie on the floor. They're fed off the floor. They just throw slop on the floor and they're made to eat it with their hands still tied behind their backs. Some of these people are raped by dogs. They're raped to death by the guards. Recently, those guards in SD Taman prison that were found to have raped someone to death with metal batons, punctured his lungs and all sorts of stuff. They were acquitted. And Benjamin Netanyahu had said, well, you know, we've got to stop going after our heroes in the IDF and start realizing these people are terrorists, you know. I mean, this is a sick culture. That sort of thing shows you the mentality of the Israelis. I mean, it's bad enough seeing what they do to the people in prison and how these people are treated, which is absolutely disgraceful. They're literally thrown into areas and they're just packaged in and just left in these huge rooms together, sleeping on top of each other. and they're not allowed to shower, and they've got to eat off the floor, and their hands are tied, and they're urinating on themselves, and all sorts of stuff. And their bodies begin to rot. Their lower bodies literally begin to rot, and they're still alive. There were some prisoners that were recently released, and they said, this is what is happening in there. He said, have a look at my lower body. I'm literally rotting. This is the mentality of the Israelis. Like, they don't view the Palestinians as human. I showed you that report on the last show of the Palestinian prison, a prison for children. It's the only country on earth that has a military prison for children. It said on that report that they used to keep the children in cages outside. They used to leave them overnight in cages outside the building. And there's a lot of videos which show Palestinian children in cages. Yeah, this is the mentality of these people. Now, I was told of stuff when I was in Gaza in 2012 that there are homes in Israel, in Tel Aviv, some of the kidnapped children that the Israeli soldiers take, people can come to the jail and they can grab a Palestinian child and take it home. And they'll keep it in a cage in the living room. And they'll sit there at the table and they'll eat their meals and they'll throw scraps to it like it's a dog. You know, and they'll encourage their children to poke sticks at it and torture it and just keep it there so they can torment it, Palestinian child. So they put this mentality into their own children. This is how you treat Palestinians. Now, I've got no video evidence to prove that claim, but this is just stuff that I was told when I was in Gaza. And when I see some of the stuff that has come to light in the last 2.5 years through this genocide, it wouldn't surprise me if all of it is true, all the stuff that I was told.
We are looking for babies, but there is no babies left.
What babies? Say that again. Say it again.
No, maybe I killed a girl, she was 12, but I'm looking for a baby.
It's mind-boggling, this mentality. Absolutely mind-boggling. You know, and the interesting thing, like, all this has been built on false flags, this whole situation. Look at the false flag of 9/11. The whole war on terror is built on false flags. Even the vilifying of Islam. I've gone through it before, how King Faisal was overthrown. They put in the Saudi family, and then they put in Wahhabism and created this extremist version of Islam, which was all sponsored by Israel to do that, to make everyone hate Islam so they could create this whole war on terror. All false flags. The false flag of the Levant affair, how they vilified Gaddafi so they could destroy Libya. The false flag of 9/11. The false flag of September 11th led to the war on terror, which led to the destruction of Iraq and all of the bullshit that they did to Afghanistan. moving on to the Arab Spring, which was all false flag colour revolution staged by the same people. Then Syria. Look what they've done, these people. It's insane. All false flags. And then you get to October 7th, which was again staged by Israel. And now, this whole war with Iran, all the false flags through this, it turns out that the missiles that we're told were fired on Diego Garcia were very likely fired from Israeli submarines, which wouldn't surprise me either. Now you look at the attacks against Dubai, attacks against Oman. These have been proven to have been carried out by Israel. You got the whole attack in Iran anyway is all based on false flag bullshit. The attack on the ambulances in London. Those 2 old ambulances, or 3 old ambulances or something. I mean 2 or 3. There are ambulances that were decommissioned. The company got 5 new ambulances to replace them. And the notes that were left, claiming responsibility for it, was some Islamic group based in Iran, of course, claimed responsibility for it. Some group that nobody had ever heard of before. And the notes that they left behind were apparently written in English and Arabic. So it would appear that whoever staged the attack forgot that the Iranians actually speak Persian and not Arabic. But obviously, another false flag attack. And they're planning on another one, folks. As I mentioned on the last video, I got banned from X for commenting on Laura Loomer's post. I mean, she did a post and she said she's expecting a terror attack staged by Islamic extremists to be 10 times bigger than 9/11 and that it will be traced to right-wing podcasters. Anybody who's criticising this illegal war. Later down the thread somewhere, she mentioned that there are 2 podcasters in particular, and I would suggest that she meant Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. But essentially any right-wing podcaster, which is essentially anybody speaking out against this illegal and disgraceful war, which is destroying the world as we know it, and already has changed things in so many ways. So I'm fully expecting Israel to stage a major terror attack in the United States. There is, of course, the Citibank building, which was bought by Larry Silverstein in 2020. He bought the Citibank building in Los Angeles. There has been rumors circulating that apparently he recently had it insured against terror attacks. I don't know how true that is. There is a rumor that's circulating to that effect. I think that would be a little blatant, a little too obvious if he did that. But an interesting thing is that a lot of the attacks we've seen, like in Dubai and stuff, have been from Iranian drones, we're told. They could be US drones because the US actually got a drone, an Iranian drone, a few years ago, and they back-engineered it. They were surprised at how advanced and how good this Iranian drone was, so they actually took it back and they back-engineered it and they built drones themselves that looked the same. So they could conceivably use an American drone and say it's an Iranian drone. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference because the US stole the design from Iran, and they even admit that.
As many of you know, and if you don't know, this was an original Iranian drone design. We captured it, pulled the guts out, sent it back to America, put a little Made America on it, brought it back here, and we're shooting it at the Iranians.
So all of these drone attacks could be US attacks and US drones. There was recently 4 US military drones that were stolen from a place, I think Fort Campbell was the place. They put that out there, that there were 4 drones stolen.
This hour, there is a $5,000 reward to figure out who stole several drones from Fort Campbell. The Army's Criminal Investigation Division shared photos of these 2 men. They illegally went into a building at the Army base last November and took 4 drones. They left in 2 different vehicles, a light-colored sedan and a dark-colored pickup truck. If you recognize either vehicle or the suspects, you should contact Fort Campbell.
And so it's something that they could be thinking of using. And they have talked about a possible terror attack in California. So the Citibank building does come to mind, Lucky Larry and all that sort of stuff. It's not a big building. I can't see how that would be 10 times bigger than 9/11. But, you know, Los Angeles is a pretty big place. Maybe it won't just be that building. Could be anything. Who knows what they have planned. None of these dogs are. There they are. They're all good. They're doing their own thing. But yeah, so keep a lookout for that, folks. I haven't been able to post on X, and I won't be able to post back on X until next Tuesday, which is a bit of a shame, because it is a good way of getting information out to people. But there's so much going on. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. Like I've said before, I don't think that they really expected Iran to respond the way they're doing, or maybe they did. Maybe they thought it was going to be like controlled demolition of predetermined targets the way it was in the 12-day war last year. But then perhaps they should have thought of that before they took out the leader. But what we're looking at now, I mean, like I said earlier, even if they were to stop the bombings and stop the war right now, we are heading for the worst energy crisis in our lifetime. Possibly the worst energy crisis in the known history of the world. Even if they were to stop it all now. But it doesn't appear to be stopping. It just keeps going on and on. I mean, the other day, Trump said that Iran gave him a present of 10 ships, 10 boats of oil, he said. It turns out that these were 8 boats of oil that were taken through by Pakistan, and Pakistan had illegally rerouted them to the United States. So they'd basically broken their deal with Iran. And so Iran is very, very upset about that. They sank, I believe, a ship in the Straits of Hormuz yesterday or the day before, I think yesterday. Might have been this morning, actually. They hit a ship with a missile. They're not slowing down, regardless of what Trump's saying, regardless of what anyone's saying. Trump has been making some really strange statements lately, like contradicting himself in the same tweet and stuff, you know, like it's almost like he's losing the plot, mental incompetency. I'm still wondering whether Bibi's alive or dead. I mean, apparently he's been appearing in public, but I don't trust anything that I see online anymore. None of it. You can literally create just about anything you want online now. None of it can be believed. I said this a couple of years ago, or maybe a year ago. I said that very soon you're going to get to a point where video evidence is not going to be admissible in court because you're not going to be able to tell the difference between what's real and what's AI. And it's kind of getting to that point now. So I don't know whether Bibi's dead or not. If Bibi was dead, it would make perfect sense as to why Trump is losing the plot and he's lost his direction so much, because there's no one steering the ship anymore. And he's certainly showing a lot of signs of incompetence. And there is talk that J.D. Vance should replace him as the president. Now, I said earlier that the only way really to get out of this and for the United States to save face at all is to get rid of Trump. They might possibly assassinate him, but then they could just say, well, he's mentally incompetent, and maybe leave it at that. Who knows? Could be a way out. But you know, we are on the verge of what is potentially one of the worst crises, or the worst crisis of our lifetimes, the worst crisis in living history. Like I said, within the next couple of months, you're going to see energy prices skyrocket. And if Trump pushes this any further and Iran actually does cut the cables that run through the Strait of Hormuz, which basically serve as the world's internet, then the whole world could go dark. And like I was showing you earlier on when I got a little sidetracked, the treatment of the Palestinian prisoners, what they do to these people, what they've done to Gaza, the disdain that these people have for life. When you understand that, and I've said this before, the Jewish population around the world is far, far greater than what people believe it is. And it's like a fifth column in all of our countries. They've been able to get away with anything. I guarantee you could have Jews would have illegal guns in Australia stashed somewhere, and if someone was to suggest that and tell the police they need to go around and raid them or whatever, the police would kind of look at the whole thing and maybe see if they couldn't see anything too obvious, they'd say, well, hang on, these are Jews. We can't do this because it'll be seen as anti-Semitic, and the whole Anti-Defamation League and the whole Jewish mechanism will come down on us because it works like a hive mind. So be very, very careful of trying to go and investigate any crime that is pointed at a Jew. I guarantee you've got a lot of Jewish cells in a lot of countries who have a lot of weapons, who all have it in their mind that they need to destroy Amalek. So who knows what could happen if the world suddenly goes dark? Because all communication is based online now. There are no phone boxes. Remember back in the old days when you had a landline to your house and there was a phone box outside in the street corner? Even if the electricity went out, the phone box would still work. The landline would still work. You could still communicate with people. But now it's all online. If the internet goes down, communication goes down, banking goes down, you won't be able to tune into the television or anything like that. You might be able to, but probably not for very long. Everything is going to go down. Banking goes down, communications go down. No phone services, not much of it will work if it's all 5G and it's all connected to internet servers. I mean, some of it will work for a little while, but basically the whole communication system is going to go down. I mean, even with department stores and grocery stores, the way they order their food, they don't pick up a phone and just say, hey, Jack, I need you to send me 10 more cans of this and 20 sacks of that. No, it's all done online. Everything's done online. If that goes down, a lot of stuff is going to go down. And the whole world's going to go dark. And as I said, anything could happen in that situation. And that situation could happen in a matter of months, weeks, days, or hours, depending on what Donald Trump and Israel do to Iran and how far Iran chooses to push this. Iran has these little electric submarines as well that cruise around the Persian Gulf, so that's going to make it very difficult for people to control the Straits of Hormuz.
My name is the Azdar.
I am Iran's most dangerous underwater drone.
And right now, I am on a hunt. 8 meters long, electric propulsion, zero noise. 600 kilometers on a single charge. I operate down to 200 meters deep with 200 kilograms of explosives. Hey! Let me show them if they can open this strait as long as I am here. Apparently, the nuclear-powered HMS Anson just arrived in the Arabian Sea. How dare they? In my waters! All right, HMS Anson. You think a nuclear submarine can hide from me? Let me show you what a dragon can do! Help! U.S. warships, UK submarines, Commercial tankers, welcome to your worst nightmare. The Strait of Hormuz is my territory.
So that sort of stuff's going to be very difficult for them to combat against, these sort of silent electric subs, which are probably a torpedo as well as a sub. So they probably don't even have to fire torpedoes. They've probably got exploding nose cones. Who knows how it works? Smart torpedoes, electric torpedoes. Interesting concept. Ah, new level of warfare, folks. Unbelievable. But hey, think about all this. Now, we're in really, really, really amazing times. I mean, I hope it doesn't go down in a worst case scenario, which is Iran cutting the cables, the world going dark, and everything just going hell for leather, every man for himself. Which is what could happen. I mean, what would you do if suddenly all communication went down tomorrow? Are you prepared for that? Am I prepared for that? Is anybody prepared for that? Once communication goes down, and then fuel production stops, you can't just go and get fuel. I mean, you will be able to for a little while, but how many of the pumps at the service stations are dependent upon internet? I mean, when you go to a service station, like a gasoline station, you don't pick up the pump anymore and turn the handle. You pick it up and it sends an electrical signal to the office, and the office knows that someone's picked the nozzle up from the pump, and they switch the pump on from in the office. Is that done through a little internet connection, or is it done through some sort of local area network that they've got set up? Obviously it's done electrically, it's not done manually. How do you get gasoline out of the pump when the electrical system goes down? Why has everything been switched over to this electrical system when there is this obvious problem in doing something like that? Or is that why it's all been switched over? Because it is an obvious problem, it's a bottleneck, and it is the weak point that will turn the whole thing off. I mean, it doesn't function without electricity. Our societies, in general, modern societies, do not function at all without electricity. Only in the West, though. You find that there's a lot of places in the third world where they've still got manual pumps and they've got all sorts of stuff that they can use, just not in Western countries. It's all electrically based. So, yeah, we're in really, really interesting times, folks. And I hope that all this doesn't come to pass. I really hope that something happens to stop this war from going to what its natural conclusion will be if it's allowed to continue. But really the only thing that's going to do that is for the West to stop attacking Iran, to capitulate to its demands. I mean, what's the point of continuing? America's lost all of its bases in the area. There are no functional US bases left in the Middle East. It's lost its grip over the petrodollar. Nothing's going back to the way it was. And the longer they stay there, all they're doing is endangering the entire world by leading us into what is not only the worst energy crisis in history, but shutting down all communication. It has the possibility to do that, which will shut down the world completely. And then what is their system worth after that? Yeah, sure, they might want to bring on Internet 2.0, but what's that going to look like? Who's going to do it? How are you going to communicate any of that if the internet doesn't exist anymore to be able to do that? And what is going to happen to the population of the world under the cover of this darkness? Interesting times ahead, folks. I hate to be the harbinger of bad tidings, but hey, it is what it is. I really hope people are prepared for what is possibly coming. I really do. But anyway, folks, I'm going to leave it there for now. Thank you for joining me on this report. I'll look forward to speaking to you again soon. Again, same thank yous. Thank you to anybody who's ever sent me a kind email or made a kind comment. Thank you to anybody who's ever made a contribution. Thank you to everybody who's out there on the front line speaking the truth and standing up against this system. It's crazy times, folks, but hey, it's what we expected. It's just crazy to see it all happening right now. Bizarre. You never really think this is going to happen in your lifetime, but hey, here we are. And all the stuff that we've talked about, the collapse of civilization, we are here witnessing this right now, possibly. Who knows, unless people stand up and fix it. And that's the thing, the only people who can stand up and fix it is the people. So, are we going to do that? Would be a good thing if we tried. I mean, I am. A lot of people are. Even speaking about it and making people aware of this stuff is helping. So, yeah. But anyway. What's this little dog doing? Natcha. Natcha, Vin. Car coming, darling. Natcha. Vin. Come on. I'd hate for her to get run over. She's such a little thing. Come on, Natcha. Natcha, Vin. Sweet. She comes running. She's such a sweet little dog. These are so cute, these little dogs, folks. Jeff's Chihuahuas. They're beautiful little animals. I've really grown to love Chihuahuas. I never thought I would. They're always sort of funny little dogs, you know. You think, these Chihuahuas, you know. So you used to think, they're like little rats. They're not really dogs, are they? But when you get to know them, they're the cutest little animals. They're so affectionate. They're just wonderful little animals. I don't know whether I mentioned it before. Hello. Hello, Natcha and Sol. Look at these little guys, folks. These little guys are so cool. Where are they? Sol. Hello, Sol. Hello, Sol. Hello, Sol. Natcha. Natcha. You gonna come and say hello too? Natcha. Where is she? She's over there somewhere. There she is. Natcha. What are you doing? Chewing on something. But they're the sweetest little animals. Well, I think I might have told you before that I was speaking to a Mexican lady once and she said that Chihuahuas aren't dogs. They're human-friendly gremlins and they have magical powers and can ward off evil spirits. I thought that was pretty cute. Natcha, you got magical powers, Natcha? Are you a human-friendly gremlin? Is that what you are? Natcha. Is that what you are? You look like you're a pretty human-friendly gremlin. But yeah, thanks anyway, folks. As I was saying, thanks to all the people who send me so many kind emails and send me so much support, and thank you to all the people who are speaking out. Thank you to everybody who's ever made a contribution and all of the above and all the usual thanks. And I hope we can continue to do this. I mean, I hope the internet doesn't go dark. It would be just seriously fucked up if that happens. But hey, it could. So hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and let's see where we go. And I'll continue to bring you videos and stuff for as long as I can anyway. But hey, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, things are moving so quickly now. Who knows where we're going to be next week? But anyway, folks, I'll look forward to speaking to you again soon. Do watch out for a false flag, though. Watch out for a really huge false flag attack. And of course, it's going to be Israel. They're warning us that this is what they're going to do. And they're going to use it again to try to stamp out right-wing media. We'll see all sorts of new regulations come in on X. They'll try to shut down BitChute and all sorts of stuff like this. So who knows where it could go. But watch out for it. They're warning us. And all of this has been a play, so that's the problem with whatever happens. The parasites kind of come out on top. Even if they lose the state of Israel, as long as they have control of the people, that's really all they care about. So that's why we need to seize control of the situation. As I said on my last video, I'd love to see all people just reclaim their governments. I mean, I tried in Australia, but of course, people said, oh, well, it's all very well for you to say that, Max, you're in Mexico. Well, yeah, I am, because if I was to say this sort of stuff in the United States or in Australia, I'd get arrested for insurrection or whatever. And I'm not even asking for a violent uprising. Like I said on the last video, I'd like to see 3 million armed men show up at Parliament House in Canberra or in Washington and just say, hey, out, you guys are fired. And don't start any trouble, because if you do, well, we're ready. We don't want any violence, but we're not going to allow you to do what you're doing. So all of you people work for Israel, so we'll put you on a plane, we'll send you to Israel, which is in the process of being bombed and being turned back into Palestine. And you can just stay there and deal with that, because that's who you work for anyway. And we're not going to allow you to continue to destroy our countries and lie to us and do all this sort of shit. You people eat children, so fuck off. Here's a plane, get out of the country. That's what needs to happen in all countries. You know, if we're not prepared to do that, well, I guess someone like Iran's going to have to do it. Maybe that's why they chose Iran. Iran has the moral high ground. I mean, Putin's not going to do it. I mean, all this bullshit that America's been at war with Putin all the time, how often do you see Putin mention pedophiles and Epstein and any of this sort of shit? How often do you see them talk about any of this sort of stuff? How often do you see Candace Owens talking about pedophiles? Talking about the fact that they all eat children? All the stuff she's saying about Erica Kirk and all that sort of stuff. Nick Fuentes. Any of these people. How many people are you seeing putting that at the forefront of this? Okay, the people that we're speaking out against, the people that are running this war, eat children. They rape, torture, and eat children. Frankly, the only people who are saying this and putting the whole Epstein situation at the forefront of what's happening is Iran. Iran and some of the stronger voices in the alternate media who are keeping it in focus that this is about pedivores protecting themselves. So I put out that video when they first attacked Iran and called Attack of the Baby Eaters, because that's what it is. Operation Epstein Distraction. So yeah, you got to keep that at the forefront, folks. That's why they're doing this, because they don't want you talking about what they're really getting up to. And you've always got to remember that even if you think Trump is doing something good or whatever, no, he rapes and eats children, okay? Like all the rest of them. Doesn't matter what he claims is good after that, okay? It's like the guy, yeah, it was only one goat. Yeah, right. Well, it doesn't matter, mate. You fuck goats. Doesn't matter if it was only one. You rape, torture, and eat children, Donald. Doesn't matter if it was only one, but I guarantee it was far more than that. But anyway, getting ahead of myself here. But hey, what interesting times, hey? What an incredibly interesting time we are living in. Please stay safe, all my friends out there. My friends in Croatia and in Holland. My friends in Bali. You know who you are. Dave. My friends all over the earth. My friends in Peru. Casey. My friends in Canada. Lee. A lot of other people. My dear friends in Holland. Mikey Mike. Maurice. Zoe. A lot of friends in Croatia, you know who you are. My friends in Mexico, my friends in Australia. I have so many friends in Australia. My son, I've told him if he wants to come over, he's welcome anytime. I've told everyone to prepare for what's coming. I've tried to tell them for 20 years, over 20 years. And here we are, so yeah, I'll continue to come and talk to you for as long as I can. And hey, look, maybe the world will see what's going on and they'll stand up and they'll actually turn this around. Who knows? But even if they do, we're heading for some very, very difficult times, my friends. So please do be prepared for that. Even if the internet doesn't go down, well, Yeah, they want to bring in their Internet 2.0 in there. I was seeing something on Jeff's last video, how they want to bring in digital pricing in stores.
America's biggest retailers rolling out digital shelf price labels for all its stores by the end of the year. Walmart says that having digital price labels will help its store personnel do their jobs better and more effectively and ensure that prices are more uniform across different geographies. But the move is somewhat controversial, as some are worried that having the ability to quickly adapt price labels on the fly could lead to things like demand-based pricing that shifts prices for higher or lower depending on how changing dynamics happen for supply chains. Now, some lawmakers are already in the process of introducing legislation to ban the use of digital shelf labels, or DSLs.
Interesting. I mean, this is all about their Internet 2.0. I mean, even if communication doesn't go down, we are still in for some incredibly difficult times. The power structure is changing on Earth. The United States is no longer going to be the dominant superpower. It can't after this. They've lost all their Middle Eastern bases. They're going to lose control over the world financial system through their control of the petrodollar. Trump has succeeded in bringing down the United States. As much as it may not look that way on the surface at the moment, give it a little time. The United States has lost all its prestige, all its respect. Trump is just acting like a spoiled schoolboy. Thinks he can just blow up and bomb anybody he wants. Stealing and profiting. Massive profits happening from all these decisions he's putting forth in the White House. I showed you on the last report, like people who made millions and millions of dollars on insider trading through his announcements of a ceasefire and all that sort of crap. All the oil that he stole from Venezuela, he didn't give that to the country, he stole it for himself. The airline that was given to him by Qatar, he kept that for himself. I mean, like, he's made so many shady deals, it's just ridiculous, folks. And he doesn't really care. The whole system is going down, and he's the one who did it, and he's going to be running away to the bank. If he does feign mental disorder at the end of it and is seen as incompetent and not responsible for his actions and just disappears from the scene because they lock him up in a nut house, wouldn't surprise me, because of course he won't be locked up in a nut house. He'll just go away to wherever it is they go, Valhalla, and enjoy his spoils. That's what they always do, folks. That's what they always do. Trying to get this camera happening. But anyway, I keep babbling, so yeah, I'll leave it there for now. Just prepare, folks. Prepare for what's coming. Maybe we'll change it, maybe we won't. But even if we do, we are heading for some incredibly challenging times. This is going to be 10 times worse than COVID ever was, just through their energy lockdowns. Of course, they're even using the same lines of 2 weeks to flatten the curve. 2 weeks to flatten the energy curve. Yeah, right. Anyway, folks, thank you to everybody who's ever been a support or sent a kind word. And I'll look forward to speaking to you again soon. Please take very good care until then, and do enjoy the show. In Lakesh.
Thank you for your attention to this matter.